Hey guys, welcome to day 10 of the 14-day piano challenge. We've officially hit the double digits, and I really appreciate all of you for hanging out, sharing your experiences, and just sharing in the camaraderie. It's been a lot of fun. Whenever I start something like this, like a challenge, I'm not sure if there's only going to be a couple people doing it with me or general enthusiasm from everyone. So that's been really, really nice to see, and it makes it very fun for me. So I am en route. I am wearing a t-shirt in a much warmer, much warmer climate than the one that I am from. So, so far so good. So checking in from my Airbnb today. And since I don't have a keyboard with me, the next several challenges are going to be things that I will share my recordings of my piano playing with you guys, and I'll do that over on Facebook afterwards. I'm not going to be demonstrating anything at the piano. I'll just be kind of talking through a few ideas. So today's topic is pentascales, not just pentascales, but fast pentascales. This is a really fun little technique challenge. So pentascales are just 5-finger scales. You literally just, play through all 5 of your fingers, and that's the gist of it. So if you're doing a C major pentascale, C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, C, this is what happens when I don't have a piano. I just start singing to myself. But that's all it is. And a lot of people look at pentascales and they say, oh, like that's for like little piano babies. I'm way better than that. I don't need to practice a dinky little pentascale. But they're really useful because if you're doing regular scales, then you don't really use your outer fingers very much. So you don't use finger 4 very much, and you definitely don't, you only use your pinky once. If you think about, like, if you're doing a 4-octave scale, the only time you're going to use your pinky is on that very top note of the scale. That's it. So, like, I don't know how many, like 30, I don't know how many notes are in a 4-octave scale. What's 8 times? No, it wouldn't be that. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm going to have to come back to me with a number on that one. But anyway, out of all the notes you're hitting, just one use of the pinky. And the outer fingers, the 4 and 5 in particular, tend to be our weak ones as piano players. So the more that we can exercise those, the better. And that's why I really like pentascales, because when you get to the, like all you're doing, you're saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You're pressing 9 notes. I had to count that out. But of those 9 notes, you're using your outer fingers much more, like proportionally speaking. I hope that makes sense. So what I want you to try doing is, okay, this is going to depend on how advanced you are. If you're just starting out, you might only want to do a few pentascales to equal 5 or 10 minutes. If you've been playing for maybe like a year, you can probably easily roll through all 7 of the white key pentascales. So like C major, D major, E major, F major, and so on. If you've been playing a little longer than that, I encourage you to go through all 12 keys. So that includes the 5 white key ones, the 5 black key ones and the 7 white key ones, and just roll through all the major ones. And if you're really motivated, I didn't do this when I sat down to record it, but you could also do like the minor pentascales as well. It's a really quick little exercise. So the idea is to roll through them. You might want to do a little warm up at a slower tempo just to make sure you remember what the notes are. But then the second part of this challenge is not only just to play the pentascales, but I want you to treat it as a speed challenge. Play it as fast as you're able to do. I feel like students fall into one of 2 camps with fast playing. So there's some students who, I'm just like constantly trying to like rein them in because they're always going so fast. They're going like faster than they're capable of. So when they're playing, they'll race ahead and then stop. And then race ahead and then stop. And the experience is like being in a car where you're constantly like accelerating, braking. And that's one side of it. And then on the other side of it are students who tend to just like always play a little slow because they're afraid to make mistakes. So they always go just a little bit under and they're not pushing their fingers. So in the case of pentascales, it's actually quite easy to go fast because it's only 9 notes, right? So even if you've never really done a lot of speed work, if you just like plunk down in C 5-finger scale position, C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, C, you do that a few times in a row, faster and faster, you should be able to play it quite quickly. Play as quickly as you're able before your technique starts to disintegrate. So you might find da 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 is like, oh cool, I could like execute that cleanly. And then you might find da 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 da, like that's when your fingers start to they kind of mush. You'll know exactly when you hit the wall because your fingers aren't moving independently anymore. They're kind of going blah, like they're kind of falling. So that's usually like the threshold. And I encourage you to push yourself to the brink of your threshold to see how fast you're capable of going. Now, what I did for my recording is I just kind of just picked a tempo and went for it and tried to do all 12 like at the speed that I picked. I did flub a little bit on a couple, so you'll hear me redo them a few times to iron them out. One of the most difficult ones for me is, I don't know about you guys, but B major 5-finger scale, because it starts on a white key and it ends on a black key. So you kind of have to angle your wrist in an interesting way to get that done. Like it requires some good wrist rotation maneuvering. So if you don't know anything about what I'm talking about, like pentascales, what they are, I did do a video on this a while back. All you have to do is Google piano TV pentascales. You should be able to find it, or 5-finger scales. And that's where I go through more of what I'm talking about now, like the reasons for doing them, why they're beneficial and useful, and what they are. I can't remember if I provided a resource for them or not, like what the notes are for each individual ones. I made that video too long ago, but yeah, I encourage you to check that out. And again, if you're a total beginner, just start with something simple. Start with like C, F, and G, and just try to get those really, really fast. Just spend 5 minutes on those. Don't feel like you need to go through all 12 5-finger scales if you're like kind of new to the game, if you've never done them before. Because this isn't about it being a difficult brain activity. So for those of you who haven't explored a variety of pentascales, if you have to, figure them all out from scratch, that's going to be more of a mental activity than a physical one. And this week's point is for it to be a physical activity. I want you to push yourself to see how fast and limber and coordinated you can get your fingers with these. All right, so I think that's pretty much all I had to say about those 5-finger scales. Oh, Jim Carter makes an interesting point. When I go hands together, it goes haywire. So that's another option for you as well. I never mentioned this, but you don't have to do it hands together. If you're comfortable with that, then great. I encourage you to try it just to see what happens. But you might find that your hands together speed has to be just by default much slower than your hand separate speed. So an idea might be to try it a couple times in the right hand, try it a couple times in the left hand, see how fast you can get them in each individual hand, and then try putting it together and see what happens. And if it has to be a lot slower, then that's totally okay too. So Daniel's saying D flat and E flat major are more difficult for me because of my fatter fingers. How much movement in my hands would you recommend to touch the keys easier? So when you're starting, so yeah, E flat and D flat are difficult because you start and end on a black key. So it changes your hand shape a little bit. The most important thing I can say, and this is hard to show you without having a keyboard to demonstrate on, is keep your fingertips on the edge of the black keys. A lot of the times I find people have problems because they really put their hand like right in the like black keys, like well on them, so their fingers are pretty far back on the piano. So I just encourage you to pull back your hand so that this is really hard to show. I don't know that I can do it. Okay, let me see. This is your black key. A lot of people try to play with their like fingers way up here on the black keys, but just skirt the edge of it, and that should allow you to have a better hand shape. So your fingers aren't getting kind of crunched up on the white keys between the black keys. If your hand's up too far forward, they get kind of stuck. So that's why we want to pull our hand back. Hopefully that helps. Again, yes, it's hard to describe that. Rhapsody Espagnol saying, should we do contrary motion too? You can if you want, you're welcome to. That could be like a fun little variation. I didn't even think about doing that. So yeah, cool. Why not add some variations while you're at it? John is saying, switching to the one starting on black keys smoothly is hard. Yeah, actually, I think I had that issue. You'll have to check out the video I recorded. I'll post it over on Facebook. I think I had issues with the same things. So yeah. Oh, hey, Anthony, nice to see you on here. Okay, cool. So I think I'm going to wrap this video up today. Head on over to Facebook, facebook.com/pianotvnet. Once you've done this challenge, you've spent, 5-10 minutes flying through the pentascales, share it with us. Let's see how far you get. And I'll go over now and share where I got with mine. Yeah, so nice catching up with you guys from my southern location. I know I'm being vague about it right now, but I will get back in touch with you tomorrow. Have fun with the challenge. Bye, guys.